have time for questions. So what do we have? Yes?
I just want to know, did they come into the studio and just play that song first of all? Before they recorded it?
So the question was, did they come into the studio straight off and record it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bottom line, yes.
From beginning to end?
Yeah, no, not necessarily beginning to end, but they certainly came in pre-ideas.
Yeah.
So they knew what they wanted in most cases.
All worked out.
But there were times, you see, it was expensive to make records. And in most occasions, yes, they did come in knowing, but there were a lot of occasions where they had no idea of what they were going to do.
But I mean, this song, I do recall, was made out of 2 or 3 chunks, much in the way I think Black Sabbath used to glue things that didn't fit together, apparently. They just like write 3 songs and then just join them together in a slightly less elegant fashion, I should add.
That was the tape that we used to use.
Yeah.
It's 2 inches wide and plays for 20 minutes. And it was, I think, about £150 a roll. And we used to edit this. So if you wanted to bring 2 sections together, you used to cut it with a pair of scissors and then stick the pieces together using more or less, it wasn't quite, but more or less sellotape. And that's how we did editing in those early years.
And most people think that what I could call the Wayne's World so well did over there was a guitar riff, like Brian May. In fact, that was Freddie Mercury wrote that that thing. It's like a boogie woogie piano piece, is it not? But I think they did glue it together, but perhaps more elegantly. Although I love Black Sabbath, I think Queen did a better job of it. What else have we got? Questions? Yes?
Did you agree with what they were doing, or would you have changed it?
No, I wouldn't have changed it. They knew the song, or they'd worked it out prior to coming in. Who was I to change it? My side of it was to actually get what they heard in their head onto tape, and finally onto record. That was my problem, not theirs.
So you're a diamond polisher?
Yes.
What happens when what you've got to polish isn't a diamond, without using another word?
Right, okay. That happened quite a lot, where you couldn't get an act to sing in tune. Like that there's Keep On Running. The lead singer on that is Steve Winwood. He didn't sing it because he couldn't get the feel of the song. So the way we got round that one, that the guy that wrote the song, a guy called Jackie Edwards, we recorded the music track, Jackie sang on the track, then Stevie Winwood copied it. He virtually double-tracked it, and that gave us gave him, or the band, the Spencer Davis band, it gave them the sound of the track that they were looking for, and that's how Keep On Running was made. Then we took away Jackie Edwards' voice, just leaving Stevie Winwood. Now that happened quite a lot of times, where we used to double-track the singer with somebody who was better. Occasionally we record tracks that were never even played by the band. There's one big record that became a '1 that when we recorded it, the band hadn't even been formed. The record company were interested in making this record.
Who was it?
Bay City Rollers.
Shang-a-lang.
We made the recording, then that went to the BBC and they got Top of the Pops that week. But at that point there wasn't a band. So the record company had a bit of a problem. They had to find musicians that looked right. So they did that, and that was that very first Top of the Pops, which was turned it into a hit, but there wasn't a band, and that is certainly more times than that once was that done.
That's the blueprint for the X Factor style thing from there on.
It is.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you, because Bohemian Rhapsody was actually the first record I ever bought with my own pocket money, just a little girl. So. But with the theremin, when was it first recorded? Because I always thought it was Jimmy Page doing A Whole Lot of Love. I thought he did it first. So.
The theremin? You asked about the theremin. When was it first?
When was it first?
It was invented in 1931, I seem to remember.
Yes. It was certainly before my era, thank God. One of the few things that was before me.
The reason I know that arcane fact is I have a friend who's a classical music tutor for the Open University. He's got a PhD in music, and he's got 3 theremins and a Persephone, which was invented around the same time, which is a strip synthesizer. You didn't have to strip to play it. You just went woo, like this.
The same principle.
Same principle, but you actually touched the thing. But it was invented by Louis Theremin in 1931, and nothing much happened for a long time, didn't it? And the most popular, the most famous thing is the Beach Boys, isn't it? My friend John Otway plays one, but not in a way that a musician would recognise. Yes, Peter.
I do have a question. We talked quite a bit about mixing and a little bit about synthesizers. And I remember the band at the time, Queen, were very adamant that no synthesizers had been used on Bohemian Rhapsody. Was that the case, or?
All the first albums said no synthesizers,
That's
didn't they?
right.
They're all on the back.
Yeah.
The reason for that, I don't blame them for doing that, but that didn't disallow technology to be used. You know, like I was saying, phase shift and things like that, and effects. Yes, there were loads of effects, but I don't remember synthesizers.
No. If you look at the back of the albums, wherever they are, it was like the standard thing on the first 4 albums, no synthesizer. It was like the sort of little brand mark.
There was a time, back in the early years, where there was a thing that looked like a big organ, and it was called a mellotron.
Yeah.
Now, that device, on every key, there was a tape running in the background. That when you hit the key, the tape started and moved, so you could have a full set of strings or whatever set of instruments using this thing called a mellotron. Again, the Musicians' Union got in the way, and that became banned by the Musicians' Union. So we couldn't use the mellotron. But that was a nightmare of an instrument. They used to bring it into the studio. It was the size of a grand piano. It was probably about the size of that thing. And that had to be brought into the studio.
I mean, the Moody Blues used them, didn't they? Rick Wakeman, all of those people used mellotron. Dave Bowie preferred a stylophone, didn't he?
Yeah,
Slightly more
much
reliable.
easier to carry.
Yeah, easier to carry. Okay, a couple more questions, because Barry's going to be here, so if you don't want to ask a public question, we're going to mix in a moment, aren't we? But yes, Adam.
I have a quick question. In the same album, there's also a song called Good Company.
Yeah.
And there's an instrumental bit where Brian basically plays his guitar and becomes like a Dixie style
Vaudeville band, yes.
I know that was all manual somehow, you know, it was all manipulated.
Do you remember that?
You know, the guitar was all manipulated. Were you involved in the process?
I worked with a lot of bands that used external musicians for bits and things.
This was an orchestra that Brian, I won't play the
that
tracks,
was
it'll
his
take too long to
guitar, but
find.
it was every single note of the guitar was transformed into an instrument.
That would, I can't remember, I'll be honest, I
I'm
can't
going to play
remember
it
that.
since
But
someone's
I can understand how it was done, how you could do it.
It was all done with guitars.
And
I'm
it was
being on a
probably very
guitar
long and
geek.
painful as well to do.
I said I can't read my own writing. Just carry on talking, Barry, while I find it, so we can hear what we're talking about.
This happened a lot of times where bands were brought in, musicians were brought in. You do a recording of a rock and roll band and then put an orchestra on top.
And here we go. I'll just find this. So that's mostly guitars, I think you'll find. That's Brian May's supreme secret of using those different colours within the pickups that he had.
And that would be, at the end of the day, that would be Roy Baker, who actually came up with that. Because to be honest, I would never have come up with that idea.
Okay.
But that happens.
One more question?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Off Queen, but can I just ask Barry, as a technical man and as an engineer, what did you think of someone like Joe Meek, who was completely
He was
independent?
brilliant. not as a fruitcake, but nice
yeah,
guy.
No, yeah, absolutely. But when I first discovered, because I heard those songs as a kid, like Johnny Remember Me was a very iconic song, and Telstar obviously, and I suddenly discovered this geezer had got this stuff all together in a flat above a shop, above a shoe shop on Holloway Road,
and he
got the lead for Johnny Remember Me. He got the woman backing singer in the upstairs toilet to get the acoustics.
It wasn't quite an upstairs toilet, but you're more or less
Yeah,
right.
and he had them all in different kind of compartments, and he was cobbling all this together. And I thought myself, for that particular time, it was quite incredible.
It was.
Yeah.
But he was a nice guy, was Joe.
I thought in 1963 when I got Telstar, I thought I'd actually left planet Earth.
Well, Telstar, the drummer on there was a guy called Clem Catini.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of
And
Clem
Clem
Catini,
was-
because I don't think he was all that impressed when he heard the Telstar backing track coming across.
Clem is still around.
Yeah, I know, and I think he wanted to sort of like get on and go to a gig or something, and he thought he was wasting his time.
He was
Turned out to be one of the biggest hits of all time.
He was one of the most used session musicians in London at the
Absolutely.
time. There was, again, a big band that weren't very good drums. And for a couple of records, he replaced them, the drummer, Beatles.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think he played on more hits than just about anybody else, Clem.
Probably.
I think he
I'd
did.
agree with that.
Love of my life, love of my life.